amazingly great. You know that.
Well, as always, your energy is always like right up here.
Yeah, it's ready to go. I'm telling you, things are firing for our event coming up. So it's like back to back to back to back. So like I said, I am ready to go. How long are we going to chat for real quick?
1 hour.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
All right, there we
No
go.
pressure. Whenever you need to go, just let me know.
All right, I will.
Is the event you're talking about coming up, is it the Secret Knock?
Yeah, and it's just packed. We're 1 month out. We just sold out today. Everything's happening.
Nice.
People are like bombarding me right now. It's crazy. And by the way, the show editor just says they'll have the first rough draft of Garrote on Sunday.
Of what?
Garrote. It's a movie that you were in.
Oh. Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, so we'll see the first edit.
When is it coming out? Did you say Sunday?
Sunday, they're going to have the first draft.
Oh, hell yeah. Are they going to send it to me too? Do I get to see it?
I don't know what they're going to do. I think what they do is the first drafts, we go through and chop it up. And once we have like a clean working one, then everyone gets to see it. Yeah.
Okay. And are you a producer for that one?
Yeah, I'm the producer. I'm the one who came up with the name, got the crew, got the editor, did casting, but besides that, nothing.
Besides that, nothing.
Exactly.
So I'm going to give a quick introduction of Mr. Reid. Mr. Reid. By the way, you're a doctor, right?
Well, I've got honorary doctorate and stuff. I got PhDs and stuff from my work. So that's
okay.
So, all right, let's go.
Okay. He's an author, speaker, and film producer, and an entrepreneur. And so I actually have 2 of your books here. You've published and co-authored so many books. How many exactly?
123 books, 45 different languages, have an honorary PhD in literature, a star on the Walk of Fame, and yet I can't spell, I can't read very well, and I'm dyslexic. Go figure.
How did that happen?
Well, you work.
Help?
Yeah, no, you work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. So as good as an orator, a communicator as I can be, I sit down with my ghostwriters and editors and tell them the message, and then they craft it in a way that people would want to read it. For example, if I'm writing a book and I say, a boy wants a new bike, he gets off his butt, he mows lawns, makes money, buys a bike. And they craft it and say, it was a glorious Sunday afternoon when a young, bright-eyed lad caught the entrepreneurial spirit as he went outside, right? So they do their part based on what they want to share.
Well, it's storytelling, right? And that's a huge part of any like film or a book. You wouldn't just want to know like, you know, what happened easily and quickly, right?
There you go. It's storytelling. People remember the message more than the, or the deliverable of the message more than the message itself. So the whole idea is we remember our grandfathers or our parents telling stories are more memorable than the actual, incident.
No, it's very true. It's like the emotions a story invoke in you, right? The feelings. And usually stories that sell good are the ones that hit those, or really anything that sells good. It's like when they, bring up an emotion in you, and like brands do this with like their mottos and their logos, or their whole image. And like film producers, as I'm sure you know this better, it's like how good are you in like bringing up those emotions in people, right?
Yeah, in movies they call it an arc. So you have your highs and your lows, and Batman gets tied to the railroad tracks and will he get off in time, and invokes all that emotion. But what's really interesting is also letting the audience see themselves in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the greatest thing we can do, is because if they see themselves in that spot, then that's where the real takeaway happens.
Right. It needs to be relatable enough.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, when I do my speeches all around the world, we never talk about ourselves. What we do is we tell a story. I'll give you an example. And I do something that's called songs. And you and I, when we had lunch, I think we went over this. A song is usually 2.5 minutes long or so. It has a beginning, middle, little melody, hook, and an end. And so people remember that melody and the hook. I'll give you an example of a song or a story I would tell people to help invoke some type of emotion. One of my favorite interviews I ever did was a guy named Steve Wozniak. Now, Wozniak created something called Apple computers with Steve Jobs and another gentleman. Well, I asked him a question, says, how in the world did you do it? I mean, how did you create such an amazing, logo, and more importantly, a brand that's went on to impact the lives of millions? And he said, we embraced our lack. I go, what do you mean? He says, we embraced what we didn't have. We didn't run from it. We ran toward it. I said, give me an example. He says, well, when these little microchip processor things came out, they were so expensive, we could only afford one chip. He goes, Jobs sold his car. I sold my calculator. We pooled our money to buy one of these little magical devices. He goes, but Hewlett Packard, IBM, they go from point A to point B with their devices and had 20 chips. They had all the money of God. He said, so I pull away 5 and get it to go from A to B with 15. I'd pull away 5, get it to work with 10. Eventually, I found a way to go from A to B using our one chip. He goes, we were not trying to be innovative or cool or slick. We could afford one chip. But by embracing that as an opportunity, we found the shortest, cleanest path. And by doing that, we changed the way people do personal computing for the rest of the world, for the rest of their life. He said, where could you be right now if you stop looking at something as your greatest challenge and obstacle, but it could just be your greatest blessing, your greatest opportunity?
Very true.
Guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. It's like, even in your personality, a lot of times, like, the things that you think are like, they make you weird, or like your little like quirkinesses, just like things that really like separate you, those are mostly like things that people will remember you by, because they're like different and they're a little quirky, and like you might look at them as like your weakness or your like a negative point, but it's like your strength usually lies in those things that you look at that way.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you go back and look at all the, famous actors. If they have a big ear or a funky nose or a gap in their, that's what makes them famous, because they stand out a little bit. And, it's interesting. I believe my mentor taught me something called illumination. Instead of accentuating the positive and eliminating the negative, you do the opposite. You accentuate the positive and you illuminate, put a spotlight on it. If I got a big old pimple and I got a first date, I knock on that door, she answers it, and I'm going to say, let's get this out of the way. I got Mount Kilimanjaro. You'll start laughing about it. You get out of the way. I don't have to worry about hiding it or covering it with make. I'm just me. And by actually putting that spotlight, it gets rid of it instantaneously.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be like, hi, I would like for you to meet Jerry, my friend for the night. It's gonna third wheel our date.
There you go. What?
So, and I've noticed in your books, well, at least like a few of them, because you sent me a couple of those, the thoughts are things. And I think this is your probably 3 feet from gold. Would you say this has been your most successful book?
Yeah, I think that one went to like 30 some odd languages in the first year. And it's kind of, yeah, when you write a book, your goal as an author is to get in the only bookstore left in America, Barnes and Noble. And that was the first book ever published in conjunction with Barnes and Noble. So basically we did a joint venture deal. And the reason being is, who's got a bigger email list, me or Barnes and Noble? That's why when you walk in the bookstores, you'll always see them.
Yeah. And so you have, yeah, for sure. And you have 28 bestsellers. You definitely, not just that you're a good author, but I feel like you know the ways and the tricks of doing things that, like, let's say if somebody like as a new author started doing, and I mean, like, this is obvious, like the more experience you have, but it's like, I feel like you have a lot of good, how do you say, like moves and tricks up your sleeve, like what you're saying. It's like, yeah, email lists are so huge. They're so important, right? It's like letting people know what's coming up and what they should look out for.
Yeah, well, surround yourself with people that are getting the results you want and duplicate it for yourself. So when I wanted to be a best-selling author, I went to the bookstore and I called every best-selling author and I asked them how they did it, what their system was. I didn't go to the best written book section because I can't write. And I said, well, how does this thing work? And they taught me their tips and tricks and I applied it, made my own spin, and here we are today. I'll give you an example. When people come out with a book, in today's world, 99.4% of people who publish a book sell 100 copies or less. That's it. That's all your friends and family will buy.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they're going to buy. So the trick is, it's really interesting, is book clubs. So for example, if there's a book club and they have 1,000 members, well, imagine selling that one guy who runs the book club, your book,
Yeah.
1,000 sales. You 10x multiply your sales by one little tip like that. And there's many little ways and nuances of doing just that.
Yeah, of course. And so out of your 28 bestsellers, I think Napoleon Hill has been a big influence on at least, I think, a few of your books, especially 3 Feet from Gold, which you wrote it in 2009, right?
Right. Well, so yeah, I get to write the Think and Grow Rich series through the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And so my full-time job is I travel the world to meet the most powerful and influential people, and then I get to tell their stories in books and film. Not a bad gig, right? And the whole idea is, again, I surround myself with people I have respect for, not people I have influence over. So if I want to learn how string theory works, I reach out and I sit down with John Schwartz, the gentleman who actually created it, and find out right from the source how it's done. If I want to start a clothing line, I hang out with the founder of UGG Boots. And if we can surround ourselves with people who are doing what everyone else is just talking about, that's when our life will change.
But let's say you're a normal person who doesn't have millions of followers and who doesn't have, like, let's say the credentials like you. How do you get, let's say, like, you know, the UGG guy to sit down with you or even to send you an email back?
Well, this is pretty easy. Everyone that's watching this or listening right now, you've never heard of me before. And guess what? The people I reach out to, they've never heard of me either. So we're exactly in the same situation. And the way that I do it is called specificity. And if people could learn this, it would change everything for them. Here's a news flash. Nobody wants their brain picked. No one wants to go to lunch with you. They don't want to have coffee. They don't want to have dinner. They don't want you to be of service. What they want is specificity. So this is the way it works. If I'm reaching out to the founder of NASCAR, I'm going to say, hey, Mike, I need 12.5 minutes of your time. That's all I'm asking. I'll cover all my own time and expense to come to you. From the moment I open the door till the time I leave will be 12.5 minutes. I'll start a stopwatch. I'm going to ask you one simple question, X, Y, Z. The chance of him coming from his office down to the break room for that 12.5 minutes is so good because it's specific, but that's what people miss. I'll give you an example. If I'm on stage and there's 10,000 people and there's a long line of people who want to take pictures and autographs, it's amazing. And they say the nicest things. How can I be of service? How can I be of contribution? I don't got 30 minutes to do a resume check. I got a long line of people.
Right.
Compared to someone who comes up and says, dude, loved your talk, saw your Instagram. You make cool memes. I make them too. Let me send you one. If you like it, maybe you'll use me in the future. 4 seconds, I know who you are, what you do. You got my cell phone and we're in contact. That is how I open up the doors. That's how you can do it too.
Yeah. And it's like, it's really nice when people let you know what it is they want from you. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Specificity. That is the key to everything.
So be quick and be respectful of people's time, but also let them know exactly what it is you want to do with them or from them, or, you know, what collaborations you have in mind. Like be specific, as you said.
Exactly. Have you ever met someone that's in, for example, network marketing? I'm a big fan of MLMs and stuff like that. Yeah, usually when they come up, they start talking about the product and the thing and how great it is and thing, and you're in your back of your head, you're just going, just get to the point. What is this? Is a network, right? Now, compared to someone that says, hey, by the way, my name is Bob. I just joined a network marketing company. It's the coolest thing. I've never done one before. The only reason I got into it was this. Can I have 5 minutes to show it to you? And they say yes or no. You know where you stand, right?
Yeah.
It's specificity. That's what's missing.
Well, that's a good one, but give us another one. Give us something else that helps you, like, surround yourself with all these, like, amazing people that you say.
Well, I always give back, and I'm always making sure that I'm highlighting them and I'm putting them in the best of light. So for example, even though I'm a journalist, technically, I'm not looking for dirt and to put a, bad light on anybody. My only job is to uplift and inspire.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I come towards people, and they already know that. If anything, I have a reputation for doing just that. So when I'm going to go meet these people, they know that I'm going to encouraging words and explain to them the good things that they did and not focus on that one mistake they might have made, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but also people really like drama. People like negativity. So it's like a lot of times I feel like a lot of like journalists or like commentators or whatever, like those people that are like, they bring out like the negative things in people. They get a lot of attention also because people are so naturally drawn to like figuring out the little things that people are trying to hide. Like that's so much more exciting for them to find out than like hearing the positive stuff. But that other one, the way that you do it definitely puts you in a better light with those people. So it's easy, it makes it easier to surround yourself with all these people. So it's like you either like gain the audience, the people's trust by like putting that little thing that they're hiding on blast, or you can still have the audience's trust, but you really like bring out what's best in, you know, the person you're, you know, basically like doing a book or a film or whatever on, putting them in a good light, and then they'll have much more trust in you, and there will be like more future collaborations.
Yeah, and I think you're missing part. Yeah, the biggest part of that is they also tell their friends.
Yeah.
That's it, birds of a feather. So guess what? When I highlight someone in a very positive way and they have a great experience, and then they tell their friends and they tell their friends, that's how you sell out major events for 15 years without one ad ever being promoted. That's how you get into every single bookstore in America. That's how you're in every Kinko's, you know, outlet in the world, because you do, for me, I do the right things in the right order, and I make sure I do the right light. All right.
Yeah. And how many people attend this event?
What, Secret Knock? I limit to about 300 people, and we do it once or twice a year, and it's really cool. The reason we do it, there's no name tags. Our only rule is be cool, and that means if the mics go out, we'll just speak up. Don't complain. If water runs out on your table, shut up, get up and go get some water and bring it back to everyone else. If trash is on the floor, throw it away. Be normal, be cool. And what happens is we get 300 amazing like-minded individuals together in one place in one room, and it's phenomenal. For example, when you have your phone and you're walking around and you meet somebody and they say, hey, I'm working on this, and you know a contact, right then and there, you do a quick introduction. And imagine that type of synergy, what comes from it, surrounding yourself with amazing like-minded people.
Yeah. And there are a bunch of like networking events out there, but I feel like this would be a really good one to be a part of if you're invited, because you don't just get to be a part of it, right? Like you can't just buy a ticket and go to Secret Knock.
It's impossible. You can't buy a ticket. So good luck. Yeah. You have to know someone or go to the website and fill out an application. And even the application says who you are, what are you working on, what do you need help with, and how can you be of contribution back to our family. And by doing that, we make sure it makes a good fit. And then once we even collect your tuition, we won't tell you where it is or who will be there. We just tell you the city, state, the area, so you can book your stuff, and then we drip it out as we go. And the way we do that is, last time, for example, President Vicente Fox wanted to come from Mexico without Secret Service, so it's a secret location. We did a private Skype with Edward Snowden while he's hiding in Russia. We bring in Tonino Lamborghini, Mr. Lamborghini from Italy, to the founder of Showtime Television and everyone in between. And so the whole idea is we don't want the outside public having direct access to these people, because they hang out for 3 days where you get one-on-one mentorship and counsel like never before.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. And you have like personal, do you invite all these people?
Yes. That's exactly how it happens. And, you know, it's really, really neat is that, again, you know, a lot of time here on Secret Knock, but it's just a really, really cool gathering. And we end up becoming Forbes magazine, Inc. magazine, Yahoo's top in the world, because it's known as the greatest event you cannot attend, where everyone else is out there bragging like, look who's coming and what you're going to learn. We say, we won't tell you who's coming. You won't tell you nothing. It's a secret.
Yeah, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like selling a feeling, right? Like going through your website and looking at Secret Knock's website, I quickly noticed that the feeling that you guys sell is that exclusivity and VIP, because it's like as soon as you go on the website, instead of it being like, if you would like to attend, purchase here, it's like, it says something like the best event you cannot attend unless you're invited. So you're like, oh, you tell me I can't do it? Now I have to find someone who's going to invite me. You know, it's like that. That's the emotion that you guys are, you know, like targeting. And I think it's pretty smart, because like the whole VIP exclusive, that's also something that's like one of the biggest things that people like easily buy into and they love it. Everybody wants to
And
go to something
we gotta
exclusive.
we got to be careful because again, it's spent me my entire career to meet and to go out and build relationships with all these
Right.
people. I don't want some knucklehead with the tinfoil hat talking to data aliens who is cat hanging out with these people, because then my friends are not going to tell their friends to come. Does that make sense? So I'm very
Yeah.
particular to make sure that we surround ourselves with something. All right, I'm done talking about secret knot. So I want to share this one thing, because when you and I were chatting up in LA, my greatest takeaway lately is from a book I did called Wealth Made Easy. I interviewed
Mhm.
people worth $100 million to $1 billion. And one of the greatest ahas was CPC.
Mhm.
CPC. And it's an acronym that stands for clues, C, patterns, P, choices, C. It's about accountability and responsibility for every single thing that happens. It's our fault. Example, back to the date thing. I'm 58 years old. I go out on a date with an amazing woman. She happens to be 20 minutes late. Anything could happen. There was a car accident, couldn't get a babysitter, whatever. But there's a little red flag, that's a C, called a clue. But I like her. So I go out on the 10th, 12th, 15th date. And every time she's 20 minutes late, that forms a P, which is a pattern. Now it's
Mhm.
my C, choice, whether I deal with it, I yell at her, I tell her 30 minutes different times so she shows up on time, or I break up, but it's not her fault. She is just late. Stop trying to change people to fit into your own little world. But we'll see someone with a bad reputation in business. They cheat your best friend. You do business and you get cheated and you're mad at the person, but you saw the clue, you saw the pattern, you made the choice. It'd be like seeing a rattlesnake rattle bite your kid's sister. You go to pet it, get bit, and you're mad at the snake. Looking back in life, we'll never be angry at the relationships that fell through, or relationships that went awry, or even negotiations that didn't come to fruition, but we'll be mad that we stayed in too long.
Very
We
true.
saw the clues, we saw the patterns, but we made our choices late. And the most successful people, they will look for the clue, they follow the pattern, and they make their choices on the spot.
It's very true. And I'm very guilty of this. Like a lot of times, like I see like, there's something that we would call red flags, right? And you see red flags, whether it's like in friends or, as you said, dates, or even like business partners or coworkers. And you almost defend them on their behalf in your mind. So it's like you're not even bringing them up with them. Like, you're 20 minutes late every time. Like, it's like you sometimes you don't even bring them up. You just defend them in your own head because you like them or you want to continue working with them. And then that builds up, builds up, builds up. And then it then like either explodes or it just brings this like hateful relationship. So it's a really good skill to be able to find patterns in people and then like do something about it.
Well, think about the most powerful and influential people don't have a lot of friends. And the reason is because they're looking for these clues and patterns and they're making their choices. Look, successful people seek counsel and failures listen to opinion. Opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience, like all your family friends who've never done what you want to do. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. So if I went to a family friend and say I'm going to write a best-selling book, they're going to protect me to keep me safe because they know I'm dyslexic and they've never written a best-selling book. But if I go to Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and sold 1 billion copies, he's going to say, Greg, sit down. Here's what you need to know, and give you counsel based on knowledge mentorship. Well, if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring opinion, that's the day our lives would change.
Right. Yeah. And that also goes back to having the right people around you, surrounding yourself with people who have the right, counsel, because not everyone does. It's like a lot of times I'm like, why am I asking this person for their counsel when I wouldn't even trade place with them?
That's a great point. And I appreciate that. We can have multiple mentors, for example, in our lives. For example, I got a great tennis mentor who teaches me a killer backhand, but I'm not going to ask them financial counsel. And I'm not going to ask my CPA about my public speaking, and I'm not going to ask my speaking mentor about authoring books. So I'm very careful to surround myself with people that are getting the results that I want in the chosen field. So right now I'm making movies and making TV shows. So in my house just last week, I had Oscar-winning, producers. I had the founder of the E! Entertainment Network. I had all these people that are in that industry, so I can ask them directly from the source how the system works. And that is the key to everything. We can have anything and everything we want as long as we ask and surround ourselves with people that are getting the results that we want for ourselves, and then add our own spin and do it too.
Love that. And these are the type of stuff you talk in your books too.
Yeah. I'm not that smart. So it's all basic stuff. And what's really interesting is that as I'm saying it, you're going, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. The only difference between most of us is that I actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. And I have that specificity where I will reach out to people that I have respect for and not influence over and say, hey, I'm working on this. I'm having a challenge. What can I do differently? Because those people love to help. Listen to me. The most successful people are also the most available people. If you're brand new at something, you're happy-go-lucky, you're fresh or cool. If you're at the pinnacle of your field, you're happy-go-lucky, you got nothing to prove. If you're in the middle, you're a pain in the ass. You're filled with ego, you're edging God out. Just jump to the front of the line, look for that velvet rope and go to where they are and ask those people, because they're the ones who are doing. If not, it's just pooled ignorance with a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about. For example, I know nothing about art. But if I was going to be an artist, I wouldn't ask a bunch of starving artists and go hang out in a drum circle. I'd go to the local gallery, and whoever they're pulling off their paintings off the wall and selling them, I'd reach out to that person and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing different? If I was going to sell, cars, I wouldn't go and say, hey, who's the new guy? I'd say, who's the #1 salesperson who's ringing the bell? Put my desk next to that person. Because why wouldn't you surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do? That's why we created Secret Knock. That's why I create the things we do, is I want to give people that head start. Because just like they go, well, I don't have that. Bullshit. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you the exact same access as I got. The only difference is most people let fear stop them from taking.
Yeah, it's also like, it's just like fear of rejection also. So like, let me ask you this. How many times do you get rejected? Like, let's say you reach out to all these people and you have your, all these like ways that have worked for you in the past, but still with that, like, do you still get rejected?
Of course. And I don't look at it as rejection though. I get turned down a lot. But what's interesting is rejection is like, being dejected, feeling bad and all that stuff. I don't feel like that. I use it as feel. So I'm going to show you my psychosis. And by the way, I promise everyone listening and watching, she did not set me up on this. So when I tell you this or show you this next thing, you're going to go like, oh, it looks like it's set up, but I promise it was not. When I did my first book, it was called The Millionaire Mentor. I was turned down by 268 publishers, agents, and printers for my first book. 268 people told me I'd never be an author. I sucked. Go away. Just stop doing it. And the 269th one said, we'll do your book. Just change the title, beginning, middle, end. It sucked. So I got a ghostwriter who recrafted it, and it went on to inspire millions of people around the world. One quote from that book was shared 37 million times last year. And you've seen it on bumper stickers and coffee mugs. It's all about dreams. It says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. You've seen it everywhere. That's my quote from the Millionaire Mentor that was turned down 268 times in a row. And for those of you who don't believe me, look at this. Boom. I have it, just happen to have it. These are all my rejection letters. These are all 268 people telling me every reason why I'll never be an author. And yet here we are today. The moral is never let another person or yourself talk you out of what you know to be true.
Yeah. I love that you keep that basket right there. So it's like, you just look at it every day and it like reminds you how far you've come.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it was just coincidence. I just happened to pull that out for something. That's why I look like I was set up. No, I normally have to go dig for that. And it was really, really interesting is that, when I got those no's, I taped those rejection letters, as we call it, up to the wall, and I wallpapered my entire office. Imagine, I'd walk in and all it would be is a wall of no. And I kept looking at it going, all right, what am I missing? What am I not doing? Because I knew I was onto something. I knew I had a great message. I just didn't know how to tell it. And so finally I started calling these people that rejected me and said, be honest. I go, I got thick skin. What am I missing? And then they would say, oh, this is it. This is what you need to work on. And that's what I needed. I'll give you another, my speaking mentor, David Corbin. I can be on stage in front of 10,000 people, standing ovation. People go nuts. And I come off stage and all I want to hear from him is to say, Greg, when you hit that one message and you delivered it, you were in the dark where you should have walked in this spotlight instead of hit your face. And by the way, when you scratch your head, you kind of flip people off by accident, because that's how I'm going to improve. Not by people telling me when I'm doing great. It's what can we do better?
Constructive criticism for sure. And it's like from someone that you know and you trust, and you know it's not like out of jealousy or like some like weird like shade they're throwing at you. It's like they want to see you thrive. So it's like when they give you criticism, you like really take it in. You like listen to them.
I even take shady criticism pretty good, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
somebody will tell me something, I'll go, all right, there's a little truth to everything, right?
it's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing to look at that, because that's just being a grown up. Look, the hardest part about personal growth is that pesky growth part, right? If we're going to grow, we got to grow.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Like, yeah, you're actually, the way you said it, I like it, because it's like even with like people that do throw shade at you and like just throw negativity at you, like it comes from like some part of your personality or some part of your delivery had to rub them the wrong way. So even if they're overreacting or they're like, you know, whatever, there's still some truth to that you can learn from. I think that's very true.
I think, wait, it was interesting because last year, I think it was, I have a pretty good lifestyle, and you'll never see me taking pictures of me on planes in front of my cars and all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Right, because that's not who I am, right? And it's interesting, but then I get reverse stuff, people saying you should be showing off and stuff. I go, but that's not the nature of who I am, right? Because I think we should live a life of attraction rather than promotion. So I want people to come to our sphere of influence where they go, man, I want that friends you've got. I want the alliances, the relationships, more than the cars and the stuff, because that is really, meaningful, at least in my world.
That's very true. And there are enough people that are, posting pictures in front of their rental Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's so funny because when Lamborghini came to my event a couple years ago, it was so cool. He came from Italy and he gave me a watch that was from Italy. It was brand new, one of the first off the market, but we couldn't figure out how to make it work. It was so funky and new. And so
always the fancy things are like the hardest things to figure out.
So he took off his personal watch, and he gave it to me, and it's in my bedroom now. So I've got Lamborghini's watch with its birthday engraved on it. It was his personal watch. So some people have Lamborghini, but I've got his watch.
Imagine it's like a family, like it's been passed down to him from generations and generations.
So it's wild. So yeah, it sits up in the thing. I don't wear watches, so it's one of those type of funky things. All right, next question.
I was gonna go back to your story that you were saying of like all the no letters, and I don't know where I heard this, but it really stuck with me. And it said something like, "Let other people say no to you. Don't say no to yourself." Because a lot of times we like think of the situation and we're like, "No, I'm not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna ask. Oh, they're for sure not gonna want to work with me. They're not even gonna want to talk to me or message." So you say no to yourself before you even give the chance to the other people to say no to you. So it's like the one you're saying, you're like, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep knocking, you keep like going after it. It's like, let other people say no to you. You think that person's going to say no to you? Okay, let them. Don't say no to yourself though, because you're losing that chance, right?
100%. A billionaire once told me, he says, your success is in direct proportion to your ability to withstand a no. He says, if you're willing to ask enough ladies out, eventually you get a date for a dance. If you're willing to ask enough, investors, eventually you're going to start that business. And so that was always my mindset, is that I never let that stop me. Now, on the same note, I understand how people can have that. When Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter was the last chapter. It was all based on the 6 ghosts of fear. And what he wrote about 100 years ago, I disagree, because he talked about the biggest fears was the fear of loss of love. Yet the divorce rate's 50%, didn't kill anyone. They said it's the fear of old age. I look forward to getting old. It was the fear of this. So I modernized it. And I think the 3 biggest fears is, number 1, the fear of pain. That's why all the drug commercials. The next one is the fear, this is a big one, the fear of the unknown. The last year and a half of what everyone's gone through, you can handle yes, we can handle no. It's just the unknown that drives us nuts. nuts. And then the biggest fear is the fear of criticism or the fear of judgment. And there's a bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you couldn't fail? And the big question is, what would you do the moment you stop giving a shit what people thought? And that's where the magic lies. And this is how much criticism affects people. If I was walking down a street in Arkansas, in some city, I've never been to Arkansas, but let's say I tripped over a curb. The first thing I'm going to do is look up to see who saw me. I don't know anyone there, but that's going to be my instinct. And the funny thing is, we're so worried about what people are thinking about us, but the truth is, no one is thinking about us. They're dealing with their own life situations. So the best thing we can do is take action the moment it strikes us.
I love that. It's like, yeah, you think people are thinking about that stupid thing you said last night when like everyone was drinking. It's like, no, nobody's thinking. You're thinking about it.
Exactly. And it's so interesting. How many people are looking in your window right now to see what you're up to or what? Nobody. No, they only know what you're posting and you're sharing. So you get to control your entire medium anyway. So the whole idea is be careful what we say and put out there, and you'd be shocked and amazed. So for example, like right now, I'm making 2 or 3 movies and TV shows. No one knows about it because I don't post it. I never really share. And so the whole thing is, it's just what I'm doing. But then when it comes out, people are shocked and amazed because there's a big movie premiere because they didn't know about it. And same thing in Secret Knock. You'll never see an ad. You'll never see a promotion. It's just only inviting my circle and the people that are in my sphere of influence.
Bad boys make moves in secret. Don't gotta let people know. Just surprise them with the final cut.
Exactly. So like I said, my biggest criticisms is that we're not out there bragging more.
Yeah.
That's 100% not who we are. All right. And then last, and I got to kind of wrap up here. You talked about the book Thoughts Are Things. Now, Bob Proctor, a lot of people might know him from The Secret. Well, he and I went and interviewed Holocaust survivors down to the founder of JetBlue Airlines and all these people to find out how their thoughts become things. And we were shocked and amazed to find out that thoughts are not things. It's only thoughts backed by massive action become truth. If thoughts were things, I'd be a slice of pizza right now because I'm hungry. But as soon as we're done and I order a piece of pizza from Grubhub, my thoughts become reality by the actions in which we take. But how many times have we had $1 million idea in the shower? By the time we brush our teeth, it's down the drain. 10 years later, we see it on a billboard thinking, I had that idea. The only difference between you and them is the actions in which we take. You got to think it, you got to feel it, but ultimately, you got to do it.
Very true. Another quote I saw somewhere was, it said, a genius, a dumb person, or something like that. A dumb person without a plan, or a dumb person with a plan is better than a genius without one. And I think a lot of that, because definitely, like, I see that. Like, I'm like that too. It's like, I will have so many thoughts and so many ideas. And literally, as you said, like, I will, like, if I don't write them, I'll forget about them. So it's like, I literally carry this like journal with me and I like write everything. So I will remember to follow up with them. Cause it's like, you forget stuff. And then even if you don't forget, you don't take action, you don't have the right plan, you get lazy. And then there's that one person who goes and does the exact same thing you were thinking about. And you're like, oh, that was my idea. That should have been my money. It's like, no, you're the one who made it into reality.
Exactly. You did not accept it. The universe will give us everything that we are ready and prepared to accept. It's up to us to stand into that greatness and do just that. All right. And the last, I'm going to end with this kind of story because you just inspired me. I also believe when it comes to plan, another word is very strong, is having a strategy and understand that we have to have flexibility to make that happen. When I interviewed the founder of Chick-fil-A restaurants, I said, I want to be a billionaire like you. I go, what do I do? And he said, stop over planning. And I said, what do you mean? He says, so many people make so much plans, they never get off their backside because they're waiting for perfection. He goes, if I'm on my sofa and I want to get to the end of the street, I have to have stickability that I'm going to get there no matter what, but I'm not attached to how. And so what do you mean? He goes, well, a planner is going to plan every step, or they're going to pause, take a break. But if a sprinkler comes on, it goes against plan. So they freak out and they run back home. He goes, not me. He goes, I'm looking for opportunity. Did a kid leave a skateboard or a bicycle out I could borrow to make my journey short? If a neighbor's driving by, maybe I'll hitch a ride to the end of the street. He goes, either way, I'll get to my goal. I'm just not so caught up in exactly how it has to transpire.
Yeah.
And the successful people on the planet, that's the mindset they go towards everything.
Yeah. And there's and I know you're in a rush, but I'm just gonna like finish with this. There's this personality test, Myers-Briggs. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it asks 60 questions of you, and it like tells you your result in 4 letters, right? I don't know. We might have talked about it last time we met. And the last letter in each personality type is either a P or a J. J for judging, P for perceiving. Judging does not mean judgmental. Judging means people who like to plan, people who like to know ahead of time what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, how to get from point A to point B. They like strategy, and they are very decisive. They make a plan, they stick with it. They don't like keep changing their minds. P's, however, perceivers, they like open-ended decisions. They don't like to make a decision and like be stuck in this box. They like to keep things open, see how things go, and they like to go with the flow of things. You know, they're very spontaneous. And so they did many studies to see, it seems like the J's would be more successful, right? Because you would think someone who is a successful person is somebody who plans, knows what they're going to do, and they have strategy, and they get there because they're decisive and they're tunnel vision. It turns out that they have the same level of success because you don't really need one or the other. The people who actually happen to be the most successful are people who are in the middle and not so much to either side. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, don't be such a planner that if like life throws you something, you, as you said, like you go back home and you're like, you have to re-strategize and replan everything. But also don't be so open-ended where you like leave your house and you don't know really where you're going, right? So it's like, it's a perfect balance of being a judging and a perceiving. That's where like your golden key, I guess. That's where the sweet spot is, right?
Yeah, be a combination of a P and J. And the main thing is to do something, take action, because it's the action in the law of attraction that makes our dreams a truth. So thanks for having me on today. You're a champion and rock star.
Thank you, Greg. Finally, I got to talk to you on the pod. Thanks for coming, and thank you everyone for listening.
We'll
All right. Bye.